Are you interested to get into a high-profile career like consulting or banking? Because if you do, your application for sure needs to contain two documents. First, your cover letter, and second, your CV. So I already made some videos talking about what it takes to write a great CV. And I even made one video showing you the very CV that I used to successfully apply to McKinsey as a consultant. If you haven't seen it yet and want to check it out, no problem, there's a link somewhere above here where I will insert it. As I got lots of positive feedback on the video, I now want to follow it up with a second video showing you how the actual cover letter looked like that I used to successfully apply to McKinsey in Germany. In this video, I will walk you paragraph by paragraph through the cover letter that I used for my McKinsey application. And given that this application now is already a couple of years ago, I will also share some reflections, what I would probably change today if I would now need to write such a cover letter, because I by no means believe that my old cover letter was perfect. Though of course it was good enough to get invited to the interview and then later also to get me into the firm. So welcome to another coffee break here on my channel Firm Learning. My name is Heinrich and on my channel I want to help you to become successful in the first years of your career. Now before we jump into the cover letter, now for the sake of transparency, I did a couple of changes. So first I translated the whole cover letter in English because I applied in German. And then I also took out some personal information just to protect my privacy, and I also changed some minor details also just to protect myself. But overall these changes were rather minor, so you can treat it as the actual cover letter that I used. But now let's jump into it. So I have the cover letter here in front of me, and indeed now let's go over it paragraph by paragraph. And first of all, make sure that you start your cover letter with a formal letterhead that is formatted just in the way that is customary for your region. So usually this will look something like this. So you start with your own name, with your address in the top right, then later the recruiter name, then the company name, and then the office address of the company. Here it's always great to include the actual name of the recruiter that will then read your application. Usually if you Google the head of recruiting or something like that, this will be possible for you, and this makes it always a bit more personal than just writing the company name, and it shows that you did a minimal amount of research just here in the beginning. Then it is customary to include the location and the date here in the right hand side of the cover letter, and then it's good practice to include a subject line at the beginning of your cover letter in bold, just to make it clear what this letter is all about. So here I wrote application for a consulting internship position at McKinsey & Company, because when I applied to McKinsey, I applied as an intern, and then after the internship I got a full-time offer, so this is how I got in. So indeed clearly state the objective of your letter here in such a subject line. Next you formally address your recruiter, and then you start with the first paragraph of the actual application. Now probably one of the things that I've seen most people do wrong if people send me cover letters and just ask me to review them, and this would be what you write in the very first paragraph. In the spirit of top-down communication, and if you do not know what top-down communication is, I made a video about that, I will link it somewhere above here, but in the spirit of top-down communication, do yourself a favor and in the very first paragraph very precisely state what you want. And in the case of an application, I would strongly recommend you to always include three key pieces of information. So the first is, what is the position that you are applying to? So in my case, this was here the business analyst intern position. The second information should be, what is the office location that you are applying to? What office would you be interested to join? And then third, clearly state your availability. So when do you want to do the internship? When do you want to start for a full-time position? And if it is for an internship, indeed also clearly state what the time duration is that you want to do. And of course here make sure to check the requirements of your firms, because many firms have a minimum duration or sometimes also a maximum duration that an internship can take. So make sure that you meet these requirements when you phrase it here in the first paragraph. So these are key information to take in for any recruiter. So don't hide information like this somewhere in the middle of your body, but make sure to include this in the very first paragraph. Next, provide some context where you currently stand in your life, so in your educational journey, on your career journey. So if you're a student, write what you're currently studying and also when do you expect to graduate, because this of course will be relevant information. When you're an experienced hire, also here clearly state whether you're currently employed or not, and if you're employed, when you could quit the job, when you could quit the company. So just make it really clear for the recruiter where you currently stand in your educational or professional journey to help them put you into the right box. So here I wrote about that I was currently at the time studying at the University of Munich. I told them when I expected to graduate, I told them what I was currently studying, and also tried here to make a link to how my studies relate now to the requirements of the job. Now let's move to the third paragraph. And here in the third paragraph, I would recommend you to now pull out 1 or 2 key instances of experience, key things that you did in your life that you believe are really the cherry on top of your application. What are really the things that you stand out for? What is your spike? What is the spike in your application? Now, of course, this will often also be included in your cover letter, but really try to find something that now the recruiter can take and use as an information if they want to defend your case. What is really the punchline? Why they should invite you to an interview? So here now I talked about a special study program that I attended in Munich. It is quite a renowned program in Munich at least. And then I also told them how this really relates to the job. So talking about these project-based activities that I did and also linking it to an internship at Accenture at another consulting firm that I did earlier. And here the important phrase to remember that you should really have in your mind is show, don't tell. So what many people do wrong is they tell in their cover letter, they tell in their CV instead of showing. So what this means is they will write things like, I am smart, I am a great team player, I am creative, I think out of the box. So people pretty much just make bold claims about themselves. But the problem with this is, of course, that talk is cheap, right? Everybody can just write things like that into their CV or into their cover letter. No way this really distinguishes you from other candidates. So instead of making cheap claims about yourself, rather show what you're capable of doing. Mention the specific things that you did that really portray these virtues that you can bring to the table. So instead of just talking about how you would be great in project-based environments, just rather show the actual experiences that you already collected, where you worked in projects, where you delivered impact, where you showed that you can bring all these virtues to the table. And now looking critically here at my cover letter, I think that this paragraph is not strong enough. So if you read this, while this might be great and some nice achievements, this is not something that leaves you in complete awe. This just doesn't sound like a super awesome and great achievement. So at that time, if I would rewrite it today, I would dig even deeper into what the real spikes in my profile are that I really want to show here to the recruiters. So now just to do a very short break here, because if you find this to be helpful, I now have a new offering for you, because I put together a cover letter template that is very similar to this cover letter. So you get a cover letter very similar to this in an open Microsoft Word format with a couple of additional remarks that will help you to write your cover letter. So if this would help you as a starting point to put your own cover letter together, check out the link in the video description to my cover letter template. I hope this will be of value to you, but now back to my cover letter. So what I did here in my fourth paragraph is that I talked about another key quality that I believe that I would be able to bring to the table based on my past experience. So I pretty much mirrored the third paragraph by bringing another point, another spike that I believe would have really helped me in the application. So specifically, I wanted to stress some experiences of mine in the client service, just to show that I would be able to face and handle difficult client situations on the job. Again, now when I read this today, probably I would have written something else in this fourth paragraph. And this is rather to make it more about motivation. So I believe while this is okay if you have really something strong that you want to share, probably it's a good idea to talk a little bit also about what actually motivates you to become a consultant. Why do you want to do this job? And then also why you chose this specific firm over other firms, right? So for instance, if you apply to BCG or Bain or McKinsey, what is your motivation to specifically apply to that firm over some other firms? And here now, if you believe that you have no clue why you want to pick that specific firm, I would recommend you to talk to some alums of these firms. They will easily be able to tell you some very specific things that make this firm very special, and then this is indeed what you can write. But here also the truth is that the recruiters are very much aware that companies like McKinsey, BCG or Bain, to some extent they are pretty similar. So the expectation is not that now you will come up with some crazy points here, right? But of course it's always just nice to show that you have some real passion for a company. People just love to read that, right? While their own firm is special. So just dig deep here a bit just to come up with some nice and thoughtful points. Now in the last paragraph, I would talk about what the next step would be from your perspective. So what would you like them to do now? What is your ask now? And of course, in a recruiting context, usually next step is then to be invited to an interview. So I would write exactly that, right? That you would be glad for an opportunity to introduce yourself in an interview, and then the recruiter can use this to make a reference to that when they contact you. So let me now share 3 key reflections and recommendations that I can give you regarding your cover letter. First, you need to realize that the cover cover letter is a hygiene factor. Pretty much nobody gets invited because their cover letter is so awesome. So don't freak out about it, follow this basic, clean, simple structure and you will be fine. Use it as a means to convey the key pieces of information that you want to let the recruiter know, and then also use it to really underline the key strengths of your profile. Use the cover letter to really help the recruiter understand what the strongest aspects of your application are. Second, don't make the mistake of just repeating what is on your CV. People will have your CV, they will look very diligently at your CV, so don't just in a sterile way copy what you wrote in the CV, but rather use the cover letter to add some color, to add some additional pieces of information that you will usually not find on your CV, and therefore to really add value with your cover letter. Third, the layout, and here make sure that your cover letter is no longer than 1 page. Nobody wants to read a 2-page cover letter. Keep it brief and simple and the recruiter will be thankful for that. And then also avoid crazy formatting on your cover letter. Your cover letter just needs to be black and white, a very simple basic font like Arial. Do not use any crazy formatting, any crazy colors, anything like that. This will for sure not help you in your application. Keep it strictly professional and you will be fine. So if you took any value out of this video at all, please destroy the like button for the YouTube algorithm and also subscribe to my channel and also turn on the notification bell to stay up to date on all my content. Also, if you really want to help me out with the algorithm, please leave me a comment below in the comment section. Of course, there you can also ask me any questions and I will do my very best to answer every single one. If you want to see even more from me, I also have an Instagram account. My handle is Firm Learning, and I also have a mailing list. There's a sign up link to that in the video description below. Now, if you would like to have a little bit more help with your cover letter and have this nice simple layout that you can use as well, check out my cover letter template that I provide to you in a Microsoft Word format. There's a link to that in the video description as well. I want to take a moment and say thank you to all the members of Firm Learning. You guys are really helping me to run this channel. So members benefit from all kinds of different member-only perks. So if you are interested to become a member as well and support my channel, click on the join button that is next to the subscribe button to see all the details what this is all about. So big thank you to all you guys who watched until the end. I really feel honored and privileged to have the opportunity to make these videos for you. I'm always super happy to hear from you guys if you have any feedback or if the video was helpful or not, so please just leave a comment below. I release a new video every week. I will be back next Saturday, so until then, good weekend to all of you and bye bye.